All right. Gonna play ourselves a little music real quick. A little freestyle real quick. You feel me? And then we're gonna get to it. Okay. Zoom that in like that there. Bam. Okay. I think we are good to go. I'll give folks a second. Bam. We're gonna let this video play real quick.
Saturday, Sovereign, Super, Natural State, Master, Title Track, Muhammad Ali, Wamiya, Mahatma. Power of a good name is very important. Tucson, Louisville, Noble Jew, Marcus, El Hard, Shabazz, Tupac, and Sada. Jesus Sojourner, Gil Scott, the Reverend Dr. King, Imam Jamil, the Angel Brill, Black Dog, the Black Panther Party, Zulu Nation. And what did this young man say his name is? Yasin.
Ooh, that's so nice we gotta hear it twice. That's so nice we gotta hear it twice. Ready back. Be back. Listen closely.
Saturday, Sovereign, Super, Natural State, Master, Title Track, Muhammad Ali, Wamiya, Mahatma. Power of a good name is very important. Tucson, Louisville, Noble Jew, Marcus, El Hard, Shabazz, Tupac, and Sada. Jesus Sojourner, Gil Scott, the Reverend Dr. King, Imam Jamil, the Angel Brill, Black Dog, the Black Panther Party, Zulu Nation. And what did this young man say his name is? Yasin.
Yasin. Islam. One time for Yasin Bey. Islam. Peace. Hear me out there in the world. Peace. I'm Muhammad Salam Mel. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us. We are talking about Noble Drew Ali, Moorish Science for Beginners. And what better day than to do this class than, January 8th. Today is January 8th, 2023. It's also known by Moorish Americans to be the birth date of Noble Drew Ali. He was born, we're going to get to that in a second, but I want to say peace, Islam to everybody out there. Assalamu alaikum, the Muslim brothers and sisters. If you may be watching, shalom. You know what I mean? Hotel. What's happening? Peace to everybody out there. We're gonna get started. I want to cover really just speaking a general. This class and this series of classes, More Science for Beginners, is really just covering the basic information, whether it be about Noble Drew Ali, the Moorish Science Temple of America, Moorish American being our nationality, the Quran Circle 7, anything that has to do with Moorish science. This series is designed to really speak from a beginner foundation level. For those that may be new to this information, that maybe have heard about Noble Drew Ali or the Moorish Science Temple of America, or seen something about Moors, and they want to know more, but they don't know where to start. The goal is for this to be a series that you can watch and just get a basic understanding of things and a basic understanding of the different information. And then from there, I encourage you humbly to continue to build and learn, research on your own, so that you can know for yourself if you would like to know more of the details and the intricacies and the nuances to everything that has to do with more science. Islam. Peace to the family out there watching. Appreciate everybody for tapping in. Hope you all having a beautiful Sunday. So let's begin. I actually have a couple pages open that I wanted to read from to just give a basic, basic understanding. We'll go real simple. And then I also have some text. Uh, I also have some text and some other sources that I'm gonna show you and that you can reference for further information. But let's get to the real basic understanding. You know what I mean? And before I even open the screen, to put it simply, Noble Drew Ali was said to have been born January 8th, 1886, out of North Carolina. Um, the early part of his life is somewhat of a mystery. There's different reports about, what he was doing in his earlier years. I don't want to really get too much into the different stories and legends, but what we do know is that in 1913, he opened what would become the Moorish Science Temple of America. It was at that time called the Canaanite Temple in New Jersey. And from 1913, the movement continued to develop, and changing names. And then, if I'm not mistaken, without even looking, I believe it's 1926. We'll get to the date specifically, but somewhere around there, it changed from the Canaanite Temple. Then it went to the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, and then it changed. The name of the organization changed again to what we now know as the Moorish Science Temple of America. For Moorish Americans, we identify and um, we call Noble Drew Ali a prophet. Um, that can be a little complicated when it comes to speaking and communicating with people who are Muslim, and who follow the teachings or raised in, that's what we could say, more orthodox, or Islam coming from the East with Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Um, that's another complicated kind of story. So I don't want to confuse you too much. Um, but those, within the Moorish Science Temple of America, those who identify themselves as Moorish Americans, we know Noble Drew Ali not just as the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, but also a prophet of our Creator, which we identify as Allah. Many different names, but the one true God, uh, you know, Almighty, incomprehensible, the Most High, uh, our Creator. But let me open up this page here, and we're gonna go right to Wikipedia. Let me get myself off the screen. And if you have any questions, um, uh, Martell McCoy, not Moorish nationals, Moorish American is the term that I use. If you do have questions related to this lesson, please type it in the chat. If you're watching after the live stream, please put your question or your comment in the comment section, and I'll definitely do my best to answer that. And peace, peace, peace. Let me get myself off the screen real quick. Boom. And then let's look at, this simple introduction. And this is on the Wikipedia page. Fun fact, when I first started researching this information, Noble Drew Ali didn't even have his own Wikipedia page. So, we are making some progress. Islam to the Moorish Americans out there. We're making some progress. So, Noble Drew Ali says Timothy Drew, that is what is known as his, what we would say a government name, or the name that he was born with. Timothy Drew, better known as Noble Drew Ali, January 8th, 1886 to July 20th, 1929, was a Moorish American who founded the Moorish Science Temple of America. Considered a prophet by his followers, in 1913 he founded the Canaanite Temple in Newark, New Jersey, before relocating to Chicago, where he gained a following of thousands of converts. Following the murder of a rival Moorish Science Temple leader, Drew Ali was arrested, but never charged, sent to jail, and he passed from or died in 1929, shortly after being released. And on the right here, you can see it says, born January 8th, 1886, North Carolina. If we go down a little bit further to the earlier life section, it says several details of Drew Ali's early life are uncertain, as true information became mixed with that of legend by his devout followers. He is believed to have been born Timothy Drew, January 8th, 1886. Sources differ as to his background and upbringing. One reports he was an orphan son of two former quote unquote slaves born in Cherokee tribe, while another describes him as son of John Drew Quitman, military and political leader of the Cherokee Nation, and Eliza Turner Quitman, full-blooded Washita Tunica mother. Very interesting. Very interesting. Um, in one version of his life, common among members of the Moorish Science Temple, it holds that Drew was raised by an abusive aunt who once threw him in a furnace. This version holds that he left home at 16 and joined a band of Romani people who took him overseas to Egypt and the Middle East. I just want to pause real quick since it did cover the story of legend. In relation to that story about his aunt, the story goes, or the legend goes, that he was thrown in the furnace, but that Allah saved him and didn't allow him to be, too severely harmed during that ordeal. I can't 100% stand behind that as saying that that is the absolute truth, but just wanted to put some context there for you. Let's get back to it. Here we go. They took him overseas to Egypt and the Middle East. Drew Ali also reportedly worked as a circus magician or merchant seaman before purportedly traveling to Egypt. He never received a formal education, but at some point came in contact with Eastern philosophy. I'm not gonna get into that rumors part. I'll get continuing on. Oops. Drew Ali reported that during his travels in Egypt, he met a high priest of Egyptian magic. Ooh, in one version of Drew Ali's biography, the leader saw him as a reincarnation of the founder. It's a little confusing. In others, he claims that the priest considered him a reincarnation of Jesus, the Buddha, Muhammad, and other religious prophets. According to the biography, the high priest trained Ali in mysticism and gave him a lost section of the Quran. This text came to be known as the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, not to be confused with the Islamic Quran. It is also known as the Circle 7 Quran because of its cover, which features a red 7 surrounded by a blue circle. And I'm glad this part is here so we can clarify this. In this Wikipedia post, it says the first 19 chapters of the Circle 7 Quran are from the Aquarian Gospel of the Jesus the Christ, published in 1908 by esoteric Ohio preacher Levi Dowling. I just want to pause just for a minute right here to say I do not agree with that claim that Noble Drew Ali plagiarized this person, Levi Dowling. I've actually made several videos in regards to this, and I'll put them in the video description. So if you're wanting to hear a more detailed understanding, you can watch those videos there. I don't want to waste your time in disproving that claim of plagiarism, but I just wanted to make it clear that I myself and any true Moorish American does not agree with that claim that Noble Drew Ali plagiarized Levi Dowling. Okay, let's get back to it real quick. The Aquarian Gospel, Dowling described Jesus supposed. I'm not going to get too much into that. We'll continue on. Yeah. Do I want to continue reading? This is, yeah, I'll go ahead and read this part. Founding the Moorish Science Temple. It is possible that Drew Ali did actually travel to Egypt and Morocco, but historians believe that after leaving North Carolina, he moved to Newark, New Jersey, where he worked as a train expressman. In 1913, Drew Ali formed the Canaanite Temple in Newark. Drew Ali and his followers migrated while planting congregations in Philadelphia, what time Philly, Washington, D.C., and Detroit. Finally, Drew Ali settled in Chicago in 1925, saying the Midwest was closer to Islam, quote unquote. The following year, he officially registered Temple Number 9 in 1926. Um, there, he instructed followers not to be confrontational, but to build up their people to be respected. In this way, they might take their place in the United States of America by developing a cultural identity that was congruent with Drew Ali's beliefs on personhood. In the late 1920s, journalists estimated that the Moorish Science Temple had 35,000 members in 17 temples in cities across the Midwest and Upper South. Um, let's get more so into the temple. We'll keep going. Drew Ali attended the 1929 inauguration of Illinois Governor Lewis Lincoln Emerson. The Chicago Defender stated that his trip included interviews with many distinguished citizens from Chicago who greeted him on every hand. With the growth in its population and membership, Chicago was established as the center of the Moorish science movement. Um, yeah, we'll go ahead and address this real quick, just briefly. Internal split and murder in early 1929 following a conflict over funds. Claude Green Bay, the business manager of Chicago Temple Number 1, split from the Moorish Science Temple of America. He declared himself a Grand Sheik and took a number of members with him. On March 15th, Green Bay was stabbed to death at the Unity Hall of the Moorish Science Temple on Indiana Avenue in Chicago. Drew Ali was out of town at the time, and he was dealing with former Supreme Grand Governor Lomax Bey, Professor Izaldine Muhammad, who had supported Green Bay's attempted coup. When Drew Ali returned to Chicago, the police arrested him and other members of the community on suspicion of having instigated the killing. No indictment was sworn for Drew Ali at that time. Shortly after his release by the police, Drew Ali died at age 43 at his home in Chicago on July 20th, 1929. Although the exact circumstances of his death are unknown, the certificate of death stated that Noble Drew Ali died from tuberculosis, bronchopneumonia. Despite the official report, many of his followers speculated that his death was caused by injuries from the police or from other members of the faith. Um, Others thought it was due to pneumonia. One more told the Chicago Defender that the prophet was not ill, his work was done, and he laid his head upon the lap of one of his followers and passed out. His funeral took place July 25th, 1929, with hundreds attending. The services were held at Pythian Temple in Chicago, followed by the burial at Burr Oak Cemetery in nearby Alsip. Um, The death of Drew Ali brought out a number of candidates who vied to succeed him. Edward Mealy L. stated that he had been declared Drew Ali's successor by Drew Ali himself, while John Gibbons L., Drew Ali's chauffeur, declared that he was Drew Ali reincarnated. However, the governors of the Moorish Science Temple of America declared Charles Kirkman Bey to be the successor to Drew Ali and named him Grand Advisor. I think I'll stop there with the Wikipedia. And then actually I'll just read briefly this this short paragraph from Britannica. Oh, I should have dropped the link in there, but it's all good. Peace, 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 peace. Appreciate the comments. I will get to the comments in just one moment. Let me just read this paragraph. So this is from the Britannica.com, a encyclopedia, and this is the website. And on this encyclopedia, it doesn't have Noble Drew Ali just as. Well, actually, let me see if it does. Yeah, see, when I click just specifically the link for Noble Drew Ali, it only says that he's an American religious leader, and then it says when you read more, you have to go to the Moorish Science Temple of America. So that's why we are at this page here, and just reading it real quick. Um, and it's a let me just read it. Moorish Science Temple of America, U.S. It's a religious movement founded in Newark, New Jersey, 1913. Timothy Drew, known to followers as Noble Drew Ali and also a prophet. Drew Ali taught that all blacks were of Moorish origins, but had their Muslim identity taken away from them through slavery and racial segregation. He advocated that they should return to Islam of their Moorish forefathers, redeeming themselves from racial oppression by reclaiming their historical spiritual heritage. He also encouraged use of the term Moor rather than black in self identification. Many of the group's formal practices were derived from Muslim observances. Rigorous obedience to the Prophet's regulations was required. Certain foods were forbidden. As I said earlier, the group's sacred text was the Holy Quran, or is the Holy Quran, which is distinct from the Quran of Orthodox Islam, and which members consider to have been divinely revealed by Allah to Drew Ali. The work, the Circle Seven work, begins with a long narrative spanning from the fall of man to the resurrection of Jesus. It includes moral instructions by Drew Ali and closes with a prophecy of the imminent uplift of fallen humanity. Um, I already read the part about. Well, I'll just go ahead and read the whole thing. Drew Ali moved his organization several times and ultimately settled in the mid 1920s in Chicago, where he found success. He died under mysterious circumstances during a period of internal strife, and the Moorish Science Temple of America split into several factions. The Nation of Islam grew out of the contested succession to Drew Ali and became a separate organization in Detroit in 1932. Um, I'll just finish up. Several men claimed to carry on the spiritual lineage of Noble Drew Ali and founded similar organizations. In the early 21st century, the largest of those, the Moorish Science Temple of America, Inc., operated a prison ministry, a theological seminary, and the University of the Moorish Science Temple of America. All right. Whew. That was a lot. Okay. So, for further, just this is one version. I'm working to get a more original copy of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, or the Circle Seven Quran. But this is what it looks like here. This is one version of it. It's much smaller. This one's kind of beat up, but you can see this is like a pamphlet in comparison to the Quran that was brought by way of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, which is substantially larger. Also, for more information about Noble Drew Ali, you can find some information in this book, The Five Percenters, Islam, Hip Hop, and the Gods of New York by Michael Muhammad Knight. You can find more information in this book here, Peter Lambor Wilson, the book Sacred Drift, Essays on the Margins of Islam. And if you look closely, that's Noble Drew Ali on the cover of this book. This is the Sacred Drift book. So that's another text that you can read. You can find some information about Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish Science Temple of America in this book, Islam for Dummies, although I don't really like calling people dummies. I'll actually read just a small portion of this so you can see it for yourself. It's right in the book. So, the information is out there. And it says in the section, this is on page 248 of Islam for Dummies, and it has Noble Drew Ali as a header. It says the Moorish Science Temple of America is the first explicitly Islamic movement in the United States. One more time. The Moorish Science Temple of America, that was founded by Noble Drew Ali, is the first explicitly Islamic movement in the United States. Yeah, I don't want to get. I'm not gonna read through the whole thing in here, but you can read and get more information in this book. And then I even pulled this one out the hat. I got this book. Someone gave me this as a gift. Black Heroes, Jesse Carney Smith. Um, you know, much respect to Jesse Carney Smith and everyone that contributed putting this book together. I don't want to offend anyone, but I will say this book is, let's see, 700 plus pages, and it has, lengthy biographies about all sorts of people. But as it relates to Noble Drew Ali, there's only one reference of him. He doesn't have his own section, and there's only one reference of him that's listed in the index, and that's on page 233 under Louis Farrakhan, the section for Louis Farrakhan. And I'll read the paragraph where he's mentioned. It says, the religious body of the NOI Farrakhan embraced is a curious mix of Orthodox Islamic beliefs, Christianity, Apocrypha, and invention, mindful that other religious groups, such as Mormons, have manufactured their religious practices. Manufactured their religious practices as well. More specifically, the Nation of Islam, formerly called the Lost Found Nation of Islam in the wilderness of North America, has its roots in the Moorish American Science Temple movement of Noble Drew Ali, founded in 1913 in Newark, New Jersey. And I want to make just a small correction that another name for the movement that Noble Drew Ali founded, it's called the Moorish Divine and National Movement. So it's the Moorish Science Temple of America. That's the name of the temple and the organization, or the Moorish Divine and National Movement. Here in this book, as it's referring to Noble Drew Ali, it says the Moorish American Science Temple Movement of Noble Drew Ali, which is not, all the way accurate, but much love and respect. So I was just pointing out, one, that Noble Drew Ali is mentioned in this book, and also it is highlighting that the Nation of Islam has its roots from the Moorish Science Temple of America, founded by Noble Drew Ali. And then on that note, I wanted to pause just for a second and allow this good brother to speak. I've been speaking for a little while, so let me just do this right here. Let me do this right here. Bam. Okay. We're gonna do that, and do that, do that, like that. Bam. All right, all right. Everybody see that there? Bam, there we go. Let's play this here.
In it in 1913, Brother No.
Oops, let me start from the beginning.
This great city, in it in 1913, Brother Noble Drew Ali set up the Canaanite temple in Newark. And it's very, very important because 1914 ended the time of the devil. According to what Allah revealed to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, his time was up to rule us. We are now in our time, and he's in our time. It's very important because Noble Drew Ali was the prime predecessor of Master Fard Muhammad bringing Islam to the black man of America. While Mr. Garvey would not teach religion, though a Muslim influenced him, he did not feel it was his place to teach religion. And Mr. Garvey struck more success with the common man by a more nationalistic Pan-African approach, which had something to do with access to land and freedom. But Noble Drew Ali had the same thought, but he came in a religious vein. And even though Noble Drew Ali had passed, and many of the former followers of Noble Drew Ali came to join the nation. We write a letter to get an X, but he never, ever touched the names that Noble Drew Ali gave to his followers. They already had a righteous name. They already were out from under the enemy. One of the first lections that I ever heard after the Savior's Day address that brought me into the nation, Elijah Muhammad gave that address in New York City under Brother Malcolm in the same hall where Marcus Garvey used to hold his meetings. And I had just come in the nation, and I was in New York, and Elijah Muhammad came, and that day he ordered us to always show honor and respect to Noble Drew Ali and Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And that stands to this very hour.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, mister. Yes, sir, mister. Peace and love to any of the brothers and sisters that are part of the Nation of Islam. That's a whole another class for another day, but I do want to show a connection and a link between the Nation of Islam and the Moorish Science Temple of America. If you have seen any of the brothers from the Nation of Islam out on the corners, out in the streets, chances are you saw them holding up that final call, selling you the paper. And then there's also what many people don't know or may not be aware of is Moorish American brothers and sisters had the Moorish Guide. You know what I'm saying? This is a new version. This one was published March 25th, 2022. But the same kind of idea, the same kind of concept, and much love and appreciation to everybody that was a part of putting this together. Very important for the literature. Noble Drew Ali was very clear that we should be producing literature. We should be writing about ourselves. He, in addition to the Quran Circle 7 that he had brought for us, he also brought what is called the Quran Questions for Moorish Americans, which is a small pamphlet of 101 questions, questions and answers. And there's a connection between this and the Nation of Islam teachings. It also has our authority on the back, a legal document that was filed that you can see in Cook County, state of Illinois, showing you that Noble Drew Ali respected the laws of the government, right? Here is a book that I have. It is called The Oral Statements and Prophecies of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. It is similar to what is known in the Islamic world as Hadith, although the Hadith has a much, I don't want to get into the specifics, but it is a high level of authentication. But I will say that this is an important piece. If you want to know more about Noble Drew Ali, the oral statements and prophecies of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, shout out, much love to everybody that put this together. I also have this book, Humanity. Personally, I had actually was so inspired that I put together a book called Moorish Jewels, Emerald Edition. Just putting more information about Noble Drew Ali. You can see here, right? Let's see. Shout out. And if you watched at the beginning and you saw me play the clip from Yasin Bey rapping, part of the reason why I did that is because just showing love and respect. He has an album called Ecstatic. And on the back cover of that album, it's just this red picture that you see here. And if you look closely, this is actually the picture of Noble Drew Ali and many of the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America from back in 1928, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, and so closing out, I wanted to read something from what is known as Moorish literature. This is another very important piece of information, and in fact, I'll drop the link in the chat, and I'll put it in the video description afterwards. Moorish literature is a collection of writings during the time that Noble Drew Ali was around, and some of these writings have to do with religious beliefs and teachings, but most of it is not in the religious sense, but more so speeches or essays, if you will, speaking to the people, speaking to the nations of the world, giving you an understanding of what the Moorish Science Temple of America is about, his perspective on Islam, and various other topics. And it would be a great source of information if you're looking to understand more about Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish Science Temple of America. I highly recommend reading Moorish literature. But I wanted to read just a couple of excerpts from the Moorish literature as I close out. Let me see, one second. I had it together and then I closed the book and, my bad, y'all. My bad. Give me a second. Oh, okay. Moorish leaders, historical message to America. That's what it was. My bad, y'all. Moorish leaders, historical message to America. I felt it was necessary to leave off with that. Actually, I'll read it first and then get to any questions before I get up out of here. Don't want to talk your ear off, not trying to be here all day. You know what I mean? Okay. All right. We zoomed in. We all right there, huh? We zoomed in. Okay. Moorish leaders' historical message to America. In connection with the aims, objects, rules, and regulations of the Moorish Science Temple of America, I deem it proper to submit to you a brief statement of our organization covering its inception, rise, and progress of the Mohammedan religion, Islam, which I hope will be satisfactory to you and be the means of causing you at all times to adhere to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. In your relations with mankind in general. I further most anxiously hope this brief statement will help you to more clearly see the duty and wisdom of at all times upholding these fundamental principles, which are desired for our civilization of our posterity, such as obedience to law, respect, and loyalty to government, tolerance, and unity. That's the reason why I wanted to read that. So, before I continue any further, I just want to make this clear. Unfortunately, since Noble Drew Ali's passing, and as I read to you earlier, there was a split within the movement, and several separate factions were created. Different people were claiming themselves to be the successor of Noble Drew Ali. Since that time, though, the splits and the divisions have grown farther apart from each other. Um, and different people have taken some of the teachings of Noble Drew Ali and mixed in their own beliefs and their own ideology, and have now distorted the movement in such a way that if you look online, you may get confused and think that, you know, uh, certain people or certain groups are representing the teachings of Noble Drew Ali, and that's why it is important that I communicate and express that if you want to know about the Moorish Science Temple of America and Drew Ali and what he taught, please study the teachings of Noble Drew Ali. Don't believe what you hear or what you may see from some of these other people who identify themselves as Moors. You may see them wear fez, you might see them say Islam or have a Moorish name. But if they're teaching things like the government doesn't have jurisdiction or any authority, that Moors don't have to listen to the laws, that Moors don't have to abide by any of the laws, um, that Moors are sovereign in any way, that they don't have to pay taxes, they don't have to pay for homes, they can just take them over with some sort of legal document. Any of those things that you may see online, please understand Noble Drew Ali never taught that. He never asked for his followers or members of the Moorish Science Temple of America or Moorish Americans to follow that train of thought or that line of thinking or that ideology. As it says clearly, and that's why I just pause or get back into it, get off the screen. Um, as it says clearly, it says, I hope you'll further most anxiously hope this brief statement will help you to more clearly see the duty and wisdom of at all times upholding to the fundamental principles which are desired for our civilization of our posterity, such as obedience to law, respect and loyalty to government, tolerance and unity. Then he goes on to say, we organized as the Moorish Temple of Science in the year 1925 and were legally incorporated as a civic organization under the laws of the state of Illinois, November 29th, 1926. The name Moorish Temple of Science changed to the Moorish Science Temple of America, May 28th, in accordance with the legal requirements of the Secretary of State of Illinois. The object of our organization is to help in the great program of uplifting fallen humanity and to teach those things necessary to make our members better citizens. Okay? So Noble Drew Ali was clearly not a sovereign citizen, not pushing that the government doesn't have jurisdiction, that we don't have to listen or follow the laws, but in fact was getting us to become better citizens. In fact, the organization was registered legally and incorporated legally in accordance to the state laws, the state of Illinois. So I just wanted to stress, that point because there's a lot of confusion out there. Let's see. A little bit further on, it says, since the work of the Moorish Science Temple was largely religious, the organization has legally been changed to religious corporation, and an affidavit to this effect has been properly filed in the Cook County Recorder's Office in Illinois. It's a long speech. I don't want to get into it all. Actually, I think that's a good place to stop. Yeah, that was by Noah Dryly. I'm gonna close that out, and actually don't want to talk too long. Were there any questions in regards to Noble Drew Ali? Oh, also I didn't mention when I was reading earlier, but he had a wife, Pearl Drew Ali. There was also very instrumental and a part of the Moorish Science Temple of America, a part of the Moorish Divine and National Movement, and was an instrumental figure in helping the organization. And I think what I did want to do is just read just a couple of things out of the Quran Circle 7 as I close out. If there was any other questions about Noble Drew Ali, please type them in the chat real quick. What I wanted to read is the last chapter from the Quran Circle 7, which is known as the end of time and the fulfilling of the prophecies. And it says, the last prophet in these days is Noble Drew Ali, who is prepared divinely in due time by Allah to redeem men from their sinful ways and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. On line 3, it says, well, I'll just read a few more. John the Baptist was the forerunner of Jesus in those days to warn and stir up the nation and prepare them to receive the divine creed, which was to be taught by Jesus. In these modern days, there came a forerunner that was divinely prepared by the great God Allah, and his name is Marcus Garvey, who did teach and warn the nations of the earth to prepare to meet the coming prophet, and who was to bring the true and divine creed of Islam, and his name is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared and sent to this earth by Allah to teach the old-time religion, the everlasting gospel to the sons of men. Let's see, what the last thing I want to read. Here we go. Towards the end of the chapter, it says, "Come all ye Asiatic of America, and hear the truth about your nationality and birthrights, because you are not Negroes. Learn of your forefathers' ancient and divine creed, that you will learn to love instead of hate." That was that piece right there. To learn to love instead of hate is a central teaching. One of the foundational teachings that Noble Drew Ali was teaching and spreading to Moorish Americans, to the so-called Negroes, blacks, colors, and all people, really. In closing out, it says, we are trying to uplift fallen humanity. Come and link yourselves with the families of nations. We honor all the true and divine prophets. I think that's the very last line of this Quran Circle 7, and perhaps one of the most profound lines, in my humble opinion, that we honor all true and divine prophets. And I understand that to mean it is not simply just to follow the teachings of Noble Drew Ali or to study the teachings of Noble Drew Ali, but as Moorish Americans, in order to link ourselves with the families of nations, we have to study all the divine, true and divine prophets from all over the world and all the different times. Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, etc. But getting into that is a much deeper lesson for another day. Pretty much summarized everything about Noble Drew Ali. Going through the chat, I don't see peace Jane, peace Sina, Renee, peace Sasha, peace Anya, peace Martell, peace Fred, Javon, Common Sense, Mars TV, Yosef, Corey, Smoke Divine. That's all the people I've seen chatting. Just wanted to show love and respect that for the people that dropped in a comment. I see some discussion going on, and I have some things to say, but I'm gonna save that for another day. Yeah, man. In closing, study Noble Drew Ali. If nothing else, to understand American history, because he is a central figure to American history, the founder of the first explicitly Islamic movement in the United States. Is very important, very powerful. I would say study what Noble Drew Ali said specifically. Study Moorish history. Oh yeah, you missed everything. Shout out Dre. Oh man, you're late to the party, player. Late to the party. Yeah, man, study everything. I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss anything. I know I missed something, some sort of fact, a tidbit, but I hope that by watching this, you'll get a good basic understanding about who Noble Drew Ali is, what he was teaching, what he was representing, and we'll continue to build from there. Much love to you all. Keep shining. Um, love instead of hate, because love is the key. Love is the way. Much love to you and yours. Assalamu alaikum. Let's all have a great day. Peace and love.